Hello, this is Beth with YouTube Pagan Challenge question number 22. Do you create your own correspondences? I guess so. I don't know. I don't really think about it. I haven't. Well, I did buy Scott Cunningham's book a while back because I wanted like basic, and I thought it was not very good. As far as, I don't know. I just won't get on a Scott Cunningham thing. Something about him and his books and me we don't jive. I like his encyclopedia stuff. I don't really care for his other books, though. We just don't get along in some kind of way. And I'm not saying it's bad info or anything like that. This is all personal preference. But I bought them while just kind of research, and it's an okay book. I don't know. Even as a beginner, he never appealed to me. And about it because I was working on a 4 elements class, and I wanted more just kind of to review my basics, and it kind of did that, and it kind of didn't. I don't know. It was okay. I have 2 of them, and one of them I liked more than the other one, and I can't remember their names, and I frankly have not looked at them since that time. But as far as correspondences go, do I create my own? I don't know. I don't go to a book and go, okay, this correspondence goes to what, or unless it's like maybe astrological, which I don't use all that much. I go about it mostly intuitively, and I know I've been influenced by past classes that I've taken on Wicca and witchcraft and things like that. But it's like trees. Trees for me are kind of a bridge correspondence, because I feel they're very much of earth, and I also feel they're very much of air. And certain trees I feel are much more airy than other trees, like pine trees, definitely really big trees. Why would I say pine trees are both? Because we have really huge ponderosas. That's what we have. There's a variety of pine trees. So a lot of it, I think, too, depends on the pine tree varietal you have. We have ponderosa pines where I live. And really, lodgepoles are very airy. Okay. Back to the Douglas firs in my area. They're very big, they're very old, and they're very rooted, but at the same time, they very much touch the sky. And when you watch them, where I live in a place that has a lot of wind, they sway a lot. Unlike an oak. That's why oaks topple a lot, because they don't have a lot of give. They're very rigid. Whereas the Douglas firs, they have probably swaying 2 to 3 feet towards the top, in the middle. I mean, you watch them and they're just going woo in the wind. It is quite a bit of swaying. It's very amazing that these huge trees have so much sway to them in a strong wind, and they don't fall over. Whereas aspen, like, almost go parallel to the ground in a really, really strong wind. It's kind of bizarre, and aspens are very quick growing plants for a tree, short lifespan, about 20 to 50 years, depending on where they're at and if environmental factors are changing. But a pine lives a lot longer than that. So, correspondence, do I make my own? Probably. I don't really think about it that much. I just kind of do. What feels right? What feels like it should go to this? Yeah, I do study things like, well, this crystal does this, or this does this. But when it comes down to usage and how I'm seeing it, corresponding it to things, it's very intuitive. It's like you have a base of knowledge, but when it comes down to it, that base of knowledge is for you to springboard onto other things, which is the fun part of magic, because you really get to make up your own stuff. It's like that first church of Bath, creating your own order, however you want to look at it. As a pagan and a witch, I always feel that I am creating my own kind of religion, if you will, that really only corresponds to me. And I don't expect anyone else to understand it or practice it, because it's pretty much distinctly me creating my own path, me creating my own faith and spirituality. And I think that's where, like, using things like correspondences intuitively and not rigidly really comes in for me. And it just is what it is. I don't overthink it. Yeah, because I do tarot. So I use those correspondences quite frequently because they're built in there, and there is a codification in a way, you know, with fire, water, air, all that kind of stuff, and other symbols that are within the decks that I use are brought up. So I guess I do a little both. I create my own, create my own correspondences, use things I know about correspondences intuitively, and just kind of do what I do. I work with found items, things that I pick up, especially things like rocks and bones, feathers, sticks, stones, bones, sticks, stones, and bones. I always had an affinity for those. And those I don't go, oh, what is this? What is the correspondence of this? I don't delve into something like that with that. I just pick it up if I feel I need to take it home with me, and take it home. And then I go from there. I don't look up a correspondence for it. I don't, in many ways, even consciously create a correspondence for it. I just use it in an intuitive manner. And I think once you start, this is why, it's like, as you're making that transition, I feel like sometimes from the beginner to an intermediate stage with magic and witchcraft and all that stuff, you often long for like those 200 level books, which that you really can't find many of. Kind of a transitional from like the 101 Scott Cunningham stuff into something a little more dense, because I feel like you get like 101 and then you get like PhD stuff. And sometimes to bridge that gap, you stop buying things like Scott Cunningham and start moving into like the R.J. Stewart books, or Orion Foxwood would be two good examples of more advanced, or the Chaos guy whose book I talked about, the Green Book. I don't want to get up and get it. But he spans quite a bit. He kind of starts at 100 level and goes farther into, I'd say, 200 probably, if not beyond. But a lot of what spans, like going from this is my correspondence to working intuitively and create, starting to use them as you want to use them, and working intuitively with them, or creating just how you want to correspond to them. Comes from bridging that gap of the 101 to the, PhD books by reading things like history, mythology, and all that kind of stuff. That's where you get your meat when you start transitioning from that beginner into the intermediate. A lot of it's going to come from academic text, and the more you know about cultures, symbology, symbols, art, I would even say art and art history, working with your own intuition and emotions and responding to art, whether it's written, visual, music, whatever, is a huge thing. And that's where you start to create your own correspondences, I feel, is when you bring that kind of stuff in. Because a lot of times, like, the really advanced stuff just uses correspondences and assumes you have that base, as opposed to going to depth explaining, unless they're creating something way different. But yeah, so I kind of do a lot. I don't think it's just as simple as creating your own correspondences and that kind of stuff. I think we all use from our knowledge base. I think we all, to a certain extent, use our correspondences as they work for us. and use them intuitively, because life's not just one way or the other. More often than time, it's a big old mishmash of stuff, and that's what makes it really fun. Alrighty, that is it for this question, and thank you for watching. Have a great day.